Have you ever noticed that there are days that seem to carry an invisible weight in the air? This is not a common weekend. It's as if a secret current is passing through the fabric of time, distorting what would normally go unnoticed. What is said without intention today at this moment can become a seat of conflict or a portal to something you did not wish to open. Words, which should be bridges, in this cycle, run the risk of becoming invisible shots. Imagine yourself walking through a field covered in transparent threads. You don't see them, but every false step, every thoughtless gesture, every loose word can trigger an electric discharge that reverberates through all your energy. This is what is happening now. The air is charged, and any careless movement can amplify forces that are not yours but find a channel to manifest in your voice. What should be a simple comment between friends can turn into a spark of tension. A phrase thrown without weight can return to you multiplied in interpretations that do not reflect your true intention. It's like trying to whisper something in a cave. The echo returns your voice, but with distorted, augmented, unrecognizable forms. You are in front of an energetic portal. It has no physical doors, no visible guardians, but it opens and closes according to your posture before the invisible. And at this moment, the key is not to speak louder, not to argue better, not to explain endlessly. The key is silence. Because this weekend, silence is more than the absence of words. It is spiritual survival. It is the only shield capable of preventing these hidden currents from turning your energy into fuel for distortions. What is at stake is not just a conversation or any exchange. It is your spiritual field, your vital force, your internal balance. And what you do now will be decisive to get through this cycle without wounds, without losses, and without delays in your destiny. You need to understand something essential. Certain periods carry energetic configurations that cannot be ignored. This weekend is one of those critical moments. The atmosphere is impregnated with unstable vibrations, as if layers of energy were clashing above us, pouring their discharges onto the subtle field of each person. It's almost imperceptible to the eyes, but those with sensitivity already feel the weight, the tension, the discomfort that arises from nothing. It's not about superstition, but about vibrational science. Every word spoken is a frequency. Every thought is a pulse. And when the collective field is saturated with unstable waves, every loose phrase can turn into a trigger for distortion. What on a normal day would be lost in the air now echoes and creates cracks in the aura, opening gaps for unwanted energies to infiltrate. The ancients already knew this. Sages, masters, and mystics from different traditions always taught that there are cycles when silence should be cultivated as a sacred discipline, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. The initiate who understood the rhythms of energy avoided wasting words during periods of vibrational turbulence. He knew that every syllable pronounced could be twisted, used, or manipulated by invisible forces. Therefore, on days like this, the containment of words was not a sign of weakness, but of spiritual mastery. It is important that you see beyond the obvious. Maybe this weekend someone will provoke you. Maybe a banal conversation will come up that pulls you to justify, respond, or rebut. The temptation will be great. But remember, it's not against the person. It's against the unstable field that takes advantage of any carelessness. This vibrational environment works like a broken mirror. What you throw into it returns in distorted, multiplied fragments, wounding more than you could imagine. Therefore, the warning is clear. The atmosphere is contaminated, and the excess of words is the most vulnerable door. Silence will be your fortress. It not only protects you but keeps your energy intact, without allowing external forces to steal or manipulate your vibration. Now you need to see the hidden mechanism that acts in this cycle. There is a parasitic energy that is activated when the vibrational field becomes unstable. Let's call this energy the interruption entity. It has no visible form, it doesn't announce itself with a bang, but it operates in the gaps of words, infiltrating every dialogue, distorting meanings, and sowing confusion. Its action is subtle and treacherous. It takes what you say and, like a broken filter, returns something completely different. Affection is received as arrogance. Clarity sounds like criticism. Advice turns into judgment. It's like blowing a pure note into a cracked instrument. The sound that comes out is no longer music, it's dissonant noise, loaded with shadows. This entity feeds on reaction. When you try to explain too much, it grows. When you insist on justifying yourself, it smiles in the invisible because it knows it's stealing your energy. The biggest mistake is to believe that with more words you can clean the distortion. You can't. With each new explanation, you only give more raw material for it to twist, fragment, and return even more confusion. And what happens next? The tension increases. Relationships wear out. Small conversations become emotional abysses. You ask yourself, how did we get to this point? I only said a simple phrase. But it wasn't the phrase itself. It was the force that took hold of it, turning it into a weapon against you. It is vital that you understand. This distortion is not born from the person you are talking to. It is born in the invisible field that takes advantage of the gap. Attacking the person is falling into the trap. Reacting is feeding the parasite. The true defense is not to offer fuel. It is to sustain silence as one who sustains a wall of light against a dark wind. Therefore, during this cycle, every word is a risk. Silence is not cowardice, but a spiritual strategy. It is the refusal to be manipulated, the mature gesture of not allowing your voice to be used against you. By remaining silent, you disarm the entity, and in the silence, you recover what the parasite tries to steal, your vital energy. Weekends are not just breaks in the human calendar. They are openings in the collective field. When routines slow down, when the social mind disperses, a kind of energetic breathing manifests. This breathing, however, is ambiguous. It can become a portal of light, but it can also be a gap for shadows. During the week, people are shielded by their schedules, responsibilities, and commitments. But when the rhythm breaks, the defenses fall. It's as if the collective aura relaxes, and in that relaxation, windows are opened. Windows that let in both the breeze of inspiration and the currents of instability. This weekend in particular brings a more vulnerable field. The gaps are wider, and this means that any vibration can penetrate deeper. A comment that before would be just a drop now falls like acid. A light provocation can cut like a blade. Do you notice? What on normal days would flow without leaving marks now has the power to wound, to infiltrate, to settle in the intimate. It's like being in a house with all the windows open during an invisible storm. The wind comes in, the dust invades, and even the internal doors start to slam. If you don't close them, chaos spreads. Silence in this scenario is your closed window. It is the conscious gesture of preserving your inner space while the storm rages outside. Remember, the danger is not in the people, but in the atmosphere. It's not about what is said, but about the impact that words gain in this open field. If you understand this, you will realize that the choice to be silent is, in fact, the choice to protect the house of your soul. True spiritual attacks rarely arrive as declared storms. They don't appear in the form of enemies screaming in front of you. The most dangerous is the attack that arrives in silence, disguised as normality. It's an innocent question with hidden poison. It's a cross-eyed look that invites you to react. It's a light irony that, if accepted, turns into discord. You need to understand. These invitations are not casual. The unstable energetic field of this weekend potentiates them. The enemy of the invisible doesn't scream, he whispers. And the whisper is more deadly because it is dressed in subtlety, asks for your attention, and opens space for you to lower your guard. Metaphor. It's like walking in an apparently calm garden, but full of thorns hidden under the flowers. You lean in to smell the perfume and, without realizing it, cut your own hand. That's what invitations to conflict are like. They seem small, but they can bleed your energy if you give in. The most dangerous thing is to believe that you need to respond. It is to believe that silence is weakness. The spiritual field tests precisely this: your maturity not to enter into battles that do not belong to you. If you react, you give away your strength. If you justify yourself, you open your field. If you try to win with words, you lose with vibration. Remember, it's not against the person. That family member, that friend, that colleague who launches the provocation is not the enemy. He is just the momentary channel used by a greater energy that seeks to steal your peace. The conflict is not in the flesh, but in the invisible. Attacking the person is being deceived by the disguise. The test is simple and profound at the same time. You will be provoked, but your victory will not be to respond better. It will be not to respond, because when you are silent, you not only avoid the trap, you destroy it. Silence is the refusal to play a game that cannot be won. Silence in this cycle is not absence. It is presence in its highest form. It does not mean emptiness, but fullness. When you choose to be silent, you are not running away. You are transmuting. You are collecting the energy that would be wasted in words and condensing it into a core of power that protects and strengthens your soul. Imagine each word as a spark. When thrown into the wind, they dissipate, go out, are lost in nothingness. But when you collect them, when you keep what doesn't need to be said, these sparks join, merge, and form a central flame. This flame not only illuminates your interior, but raises a vibrational shield that no distortion can cross. Silence this weekend is a hidden ritual of alchemy. It transforms provocation into fuel for your stability. It converts the temptation to respond into accumulated strength. It molds the impulse to react into spiritual maturity. Every time you are silent, something in you strengthens, like a warrior who refuses to fight useless battles because he knows his sword must be saved for the right moment. There is a secret beauty in silence. It not only protects, but also cleanses. It seals your auric field, preventing external noise from infiltrating. It creates an invisible barrier that is not made of hardness, but of conscious softness. While words scatter and open fissures, silence closes and heals them. Notice, you don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to explain yourself. Silence is the greatest argument because in it there is no space for distortion. It is pure, impenetrable, untouched. It is spiritual maturity to choose not to speak when speaking would only be feeding chaos. At this moment, every contained word is a hidden victory. Every time you hold your tongue, you conquer territory within yourself. Silence is more than a shield. It is alchemy. It is the transmutation of raw energy into vibrational protection. It is the language of the wise, the practice of initiates, the password of those who understand that the invisible can only be defeated with invisible weapons. There is a subtle enemy that few recognize, the parasite of the excess of words. It does not attack from outside, but feeds on what you yourself give when you talk too much. It grows in the gaps opened by unnecessary explanations, endless justifications, anxious attempts to be understood. Every time you try to convince, you offer this parasite a crack in your shield. It infiltrates, distorts what was said, amplifies misunderstandings, and weakens your energy. It doesn't need screams or confrontations. It just needs you to speak more than necessary, because every extra word is like a crack in the glass of your auric field, allowing the invisible storm to enter. The trap is seductive. You feel the urgency to explain, to defend yourself, to put an end to a matter. But the more you talk, the further you move away from the point of balance. It's like trying to clean murky water by stirring it with your hands. The more you move, the more mud rises. What was a little dust becomes a dense cloud. The parasite of excess doesn't want your reason. It wants your energy. It feeds on the emotional wear and tear that comes when you spend words trying to achieve clarity, where there is no space for clarity. It is satisfied every time you feel exhausted from speaking, but not being understood. Silence, on the other hand, cuts off this parasite's food source. When you are silent, you leave it hungry. You close the cracks and reinforce the glass. You seal your energy and deny the invisible the chance to manipulate your words. The secret is simple and profound. Not every explanation is necessary. Not every defense needs to be made. Sometimes the victory is in not offering raw material to the parasite. To keep the word is to keep yourself. And this weekend, this choice can be the difference between feeling drained or remaining strengthened. Silence is not just protection, not just defense. It is also a portal. When you are silent in the face of noise, you cross an invisible border and step into a sacred space where revelation happens. What seemed empty turns into a dwelling of mysteries. What seemed like absence becomes presence. Ancient traditions already knew this. Monks, oracles, and initiates made vows of silence before great rituals, not because they had nothing to say, but because they understood that the voice of the invisible can only be heard when the human voice is silent. You don't hear the temple's whisper if you keep screaming at the door. You need to cross the threshold of emptiness to hear the voice that only manifests in silence. Silence is like a clean mirror. In it, signs begin to appear. Intuitions that were previously muffled emerge with clarity. Synchronicities align and show hidden paths. Words that were never said come to you in the form of insights, dreams, symbols, and sensations. It's not childish magic, it's a spiritual law. When you don't throw energy out, it collects inside and reveals what was hidden. Think about it. Every time you choose silence, you not only avoid a conflict but open a door to revelations that could be blocked. It is in this space of quietness that you become capable of perceiving what really matters, distinguishing between the essential and the illusory, feeling what is true and what is just a passing shadow. Silence is, therefore, an initiation. It puts you on the same path as the ancient guardians of the mystery, who knew that a closed mouth is not a prison, but a key. Silence is the password that releases the codes of the invisible. It is the space where you stop listening only to men and begin to listen to the sacred. This weekend, when the atmosphere is charged and invitations to conflict knock on your door, remember, silence is not just a shield, it is a portal. And crossing it is giving destiny the chance to show you what was reserved beyond the storm. The silence you choose in this cycle is not empty, it is invisible construction. Every contained word, every avoided answer, every silenced justification is like a brick laid on a bridge that connects you to your next destiny. That's why the wise have always stated, resisting the impulse to react not only protects, but also accelerates. When you refuse conflict, you don't just get rid of the trap, you generate alignment. The field around you organizes, the pieces begin to fit together, and what seemed delayed finally moves. It's as if time itself recognizes your maturity, and in response, releases what was stuck. The reward of silence is synchronicity. Suddenly, you realize that you meet the right people at the right time, that opportunities begin to approach without effort, that mysterious coincidences reveal hidden paths. Silence creates an invisible magnetism, a force of attraction that brings everything that is in resonance with your destiny closer. Think about it. Every time you are silent, you lose nothing. You gain. Because while the other person spends energy trying to drag you into chaos, you accumulate energy and transform it into a magnetic field of advancement. It's like someone who, instead of letting themselves be carried away by the current, dives deep, finds the underground current, and lets it take them further, faster. Silence also dissolves blockages. Many of the doors that seemed closed were, in fact, just locked by the excess of noise. When you are silent, the keys appear. Clarity comes. The path shows itself. It's not punishment. It's a reward. It's proof that, by not reacting to the immediate, you have conquered what is eternal. Destiny is not revealed to those who talk nonstop, but to those who know how to listen to the unspoken. This weekend, if you keep silent, you will notice signs that were previously hidden. The invisible will become visible, and what seemed like a delay will be transformed into advancement. We have reached the crucial point. This weekend is not common. It is an energetic checkpoint, an invisible milestone where two choices present themselves before you. The first choice, to talk too much, to react to what does not deserve a response, to let the unstable field capture your words and use them against you. If you give in to this, you will lose energy, delay processes, and open unnecessary gaps in your aura. The second choice, to keep silent even when everything in you asks to respond, not out of fear but out of wisdom. By choosing silence, you close the doors to distortion and open the portals of revelation. You protect your energy and at the same time, align yourself with the superior flow that accelerates your destiny. Silence is not empty. It is a contract with the invisible. It is the seal that closes cracks. It is the password that opens the safe of your own future. When you remain in silence, you are not omitting yourself. You are writing your next chapter with the ink of spiritual maturity. Therefore, be vigilant. Be attentive. Do not underestimate the subtleties. Because in this cycle, the true battle will not be fought in shouts but in whispers, and the true victory will not come from words, but from the choice not to utter them. Now, I leave this call in you. Join this spiritual current. Strengthen this energy so that more seekers awaken and recognize the power of silence. Subscribe, comment, and share this video, not just as a digital gesture, but as a symbolic act of unity of voices that understand that the strength of the invisible is only sustained when we walk together. Stay firm. Silence is your key. Silence is your protection. Silence is your revelation.